There are moments in life when silence feels louder than words. You pray, you wait, you believe, and still nothing seems to change. But silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. What you call nothing happening is often heaven working behind the scenes in ways your eyes cannot yet see. God has not ignored your prayers. Every tear, every whispered prayer in the dark, every moment you felt forgotten, none of it was wasted. Heaven has recorded it all. And just because the answer has not arrived yet does not mean it is not already on the way. Sometimes God delays the answer not because he is withholding it, but because he is preparing you for what you asked for. The blessing you prayed for requires a stronger version of you. The door you are asking God to open requires a level of maturity, faith, and endurance that is still being shaped in you right now. What looks like waiting is actually preparation. What feels like delay is divine timing. And what seems impossible is exactly where God shows his power the most. So don't lose heart in the waiting season. Don't let discouragement convince you that your prayers were forgotten. The truth is, heaven is not silent, it is strategic. There is a moment coming when everything will align suddenly. What took years to block will shift in a day. What seemed stuck will begin to move. What looked dead will come alive again. And when it happens, you will realize the delay was never wasted, it was necessary. Keep believing, keep praying, keep standing. Because what God has heard, he is already preparing to release. God hears every prayer, even when there is no immediate response, and this truth becomes the anchor for a soul that is struggling in seasons of silence. There are times when a person prays with all sincerity, with tears in their eyes and faith in their heart, yet nothing around them seems to change. In those moments, doubt begins to whisper that maybe the prayer was not strong enough, or maybe God did not listen, or perhaps the request was too late or too impossible. But the deeper truth is that divine hearing is not limited by human timing or visible evidence. Just because an answer is not seen does not mean it has not been heard. In fact, the very act of praying is already evidence that heaven is attentive, because no prayer is ever wasted into emptiness. Every word spoken in faith, every silent cry from a broken heart, every thought lifted upward in desperation or hope is fully received. What feels like silence on earth is not silence in heaven. It is often a space where unseen things are being arranged, where outcomes are being shaped in ways that human understanding cannot immediately interpret. When a person feels ignored, it is often the moment when God is working most intentionally, not absent but actively involved in a deeper layer of preparation. Many people assume that immediate answers are the proof of being heard, but divine communication does not always follow human expectations. Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes no, and sometimes wait, but all three responses are still evidence of attention and care. Waiting does not equal neglect. Delay does not equal denial. There are prayers that are heard instantly but fulfilled gradually because the outcome requires alignment with circumstances, people, and timing that are not yet ready. If every prayer were answered immediately without process or preparation, many blessings would arrive in a form that the receiver is not yet equipped to handle. So the silence is not empty, it is purposeful. It is shaping both the situation and the person who is praying. In this hidden process, character is strengthened, patience is developed, and faith is refined. What feels like being overlooked is often being protected from receiving something prematurely. There are also moments when what is being asked for is not fully understood by the one praying, but divine wisdom sees beyond the surface desire into the deeper need. In such cases, the answer may come in a different form than expected, yet it still fulfills the core need behind the prayer. This is why trust becomes essential. Trust is what holds a person steady when evidence is not visible. It is the assurance that hearing has already taken place even when results are delayed. In life's quiet seasons, it is easy to confuse delay with abandonment, but those who continue to hold on discover later that nothing was ever ignored. Instead, everything was being aligned with precision. There is also a mystery in how timing works in spiritual reality, because what is delayed today may be protection for tomorrow. A rushed answer can sometimes create future problems, while a delayed answer can produce long-term stability. So the waiting itself becomes a form of mercy. In the same way, a farmer does not accuse the soil of ignoring the seed simply because it does not sprout instantly, a person of faith learns not to accuse silence of absence. Growth is happening beneath the surface long before it becomes visible above it. In the same way, prayers are active even when answers are not yet visible. The unseen work is just as real as the eventual manifestation. And so, even in moments of confusion or emotional exhaustion, there is reason to remain steady because hearing has already occurred, attention has already been given, and movement has already begun in dimensions that cannot yet be seen. Delays are not denials, but preparation seasons, and this truth reshapes the way a person understands waiting, disappointment, and unanswered expectations. When life does not move at the speed of desire, the natural reaction is often frustration. People assume that if something is good, it should happen quickly, and if it is delayed, it must be blocked or rejected. But spiritual timing does not operate on urgency, it operates on readiness. A delay is not God stepping away from a request, but God stepping into the process of shaping the person who made the request. Is often perceived as stagnation is actually hidden development. In these seasons, nothing may seem to be changing externally, but internally, transformation is taking place in ways that are not immediately visible. A delay forces reflection. It slows down the rush of emotion and places a person in a space where character is refined. Many of the things people pray for are not just gifts, but responsibilities. What is being asked for will require wisdom, patience, discipline, and emotional maturity. Without preparation, a blessing can become a burden. Without growth, success can lead to collapse. So what feels like a closed door may actually be protection from stepping into something prematurely. The delay is not punishment, it is alignment. It is the process of making sure that when the opportunity arrives, the person is not only willing but ready to sustain it. There is also a deep shaping that happens in the unseen part of life during delays. Values are tested, priorities are corrected, and dependence on external validation is slowly replaced with internal strength. In urgency, people often chase outcomes, but in delay, they begin to understand themselves. They learn patience, they learn endurance, and they learn how to remain steady when nothing around them confirms progress. This inner strengthening is essential because life does not only require arrival, it requires stability after arrival. Many people can receive what they pray for, but not everyone can carry it for a long time. The preparation season is what determines longevity. Delays also reveal the depth of faith. It is easy to believe when results are immediate, but true belief is tested when there is no visible change. In that space, trust becomes the foundation. Trust is not based on what is seen, but on what is believed about the nature of divine timing. It is in the waiting that faith becomes more than a word, it becomes a posture. A person learns to remain grounded even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This kind of faith is not emotional excitement, it is quiet confidence that something is still unfolding even when it cannot be traced. Sometimes delays also protect from wrong timing. What seems like a missed opportunity may actually be a spared consequence. There are paths that look promising but are not aligned with long-term purpose. If everything opened instantly, many would step into situations that look good at first but lead to difficulty later. The delay creates space for correction, redirection, and realignment. It ensures that when something finally arrives, it fits not just desire but destiny. In preparation seasons, patience becomes a form of growth rather than waiting in emptiness. It becomes active shaping rather than passive delay. A person begins to understand that what is being built within them is just as important as what they are waiting for outside of them. The delay is not empty time, it is developmental time. And often when the moment finally shifts and what was delayed begins to manifest, there is a realization that the waiting was not wasted at all. It was the very process that made the outcome sustainable, meaningful, and aligned with purpose. Behind the scenes, God is aligning what you cannot see, and this truth speaks directly to the hidden dimension of life where faith is tested and patience is stretched. What appears as inactivity in the physical world is often intense activity in the unseen realm. While a person may feel like nothing is moving, situations, people, timing, and circumstances are being carefully arranged in ways cannot yet be detected by human awareness. Life is not only what is visible, there is a deeper layer where events are being positioned like pieces on a board, and every movement is intentional. What seems random is often deeply structured. What feels delayed is often precisely timed coordination taking place beyond human perception. In moments of waiting, it is easy to assume that everything is on hold, but alignment is rarely loud. It does not announce itself. It works quietly, steadily, and with precision. The right connections are being prepared, even if those connections are not yet visible. The right opportunities are being shaped, even if doors have not opened. The wrong paths are being closed subtly, even if it feels like nothing is happening. This unseen orchestration ensures that when the moment finally arrives, everything fits together in a way that could not have been forced earlier. Timing is not just about when something happens, but about how all surrounding elements are synchronized to support it. There are many factors that must align before certain outcomes can manifest. People often focus only on the desire itself, but rarely see the network of conditions regarding. Required for that desire to succeed. Relationships must mature, environments must shift, internal readiness must develop, and external obstacles must be removed or softened. These processes take time, and they happen simultaneously in different areas of life. What is being aligned behind the scenes is not just one event, but a chain of interconnected adjustments. This is why forcing outcomes often leads to instability, while aligned outcomes tend to last longer and carry more stability. In this hidden process, even delays in other people's actions are part of the alignment. Someone who is not ready today may be necessary tomorrow. A door that is closed now may not be rejection, but scheduling. A connection that seems unavailable might be in preparation for a future version of circumstances that has not yet arrived. What looks like disconnection is often temporary separation for the sake of future coordination. Nothing is truly isolated. Everything is part of a larger design that is unfolding gradually. There is also a protective element in this unseen alignment. Not everything that appears desirable is beneficial at the wrong time. Part of what is being arranged behind the scenes is protection from premature access. Some opportunities require maturity before they can be handled safely. Some breakthroughs require emotional stability before they can be sustained. So while the surface may suggest waiting, the deeper reality may be safeguarding. Alignment is not only about bringing things together, it is also about ensuring readiness on all sides so that what comes together does not fall apart. Faith becomes essential in this process because it bridges the gap between what is seen and what is being formed. Without faith, silence feels like absence. But with faith, silence becomes evidence of hidden activity. It allows a person to remain steady while trusting that movement is happening beyond their awareness. This trust does not depend on visible proof. It depends on the understanding that timing is layered and coordination is complex. Eventually, when the alignment reaches completion, what once felt delayed begins to unfold naturally. Doors open without struggle. Opportunities arrive without forcing. Connections form without confusion. And in that moment, it becomes clear that nothing was ever stagnant. Everything was being positioned with precision, even when looked like nothing was happening. Your waiting season is building your faith and endurance, even when it does not feel productive or meaningful in the moment. Waiting is often misunderstood as inactivity, but in reality, it is one of the most active shaping periods in a person's life. It is in the waiting that inner strength is developed, emotional resilience is formed, and spiritual depth is expanded. When life moves slowly, it creates space for reflection, correction, and growth that cannot happen in seasons of instant results. The waiting season is not empty, it is formative, even if the changes are not immediately visible. In moments of delay, a person is forced to confront what they truly believe. When everything is going well, faith is easy. But when answers are not arriving, faith is refined. It becomes less about feelings and more about conviction. The waiting season strips away dependency on instant confirmation and teaches reliance on something deeper than circumstances. This is where endurance begins to take shape. Endurance is not just patience, it is the ability to remain steady under pressure without losing hope or direction. It is developed slowly through repeat. Moments of uncertainty where a person chooses to hold on instead of giving up. The waiting season also reveals emotional patterns that need strengthening. It exposes impatience, anxiety, doubt, and fear, not to destroy a person, but to refine them. When life is fast and predictable, these internal struggles can remain hidden. But when things slow down, they surface, giving an opportunity for growth. A person begins to learn how to manage disappointment without breaking, how to process uncertainty without collapsing, and how to continue moving forward even when clarity is missing. These are essential skills for long-term stability in life, because not every season will provide immediate answers or visible progress. Endurance is also built through repetition of hope. Every time a person chooses to believe again after discouragement, something inside them becomes stronger. Every time they pray again after feeling unheard, resilience increases. Every time they decide not to quit despite delays, their foundation deepens. This repeated choice to continue is what transforms waiting from passive suffering into active strengthening. It is not the absence of movement that defines the sea, sun, but the internal development taking place within it. There is also a deeper transformation happening in identity during the waiting season. People often define themselves by outcomes, achievements, or visible progress. But when those markers are removed temporarily, identity begins to shift from external validation to internal stability. A person learns who they are without constant confirmation from results. This is a crucial part of emotional and spiritual maturity. Without it, success can become fragile, dependent on constant validation. With it, a person becomes steady regardless of circumstances. The waiting season also teaches perspective. It slows down the rush of life enough for reflection to take place. In urgency, people often miss lessons, overlook growth, and ignore inner development. But in waiting, attention shifts inward. A person begins to notice what truly matters, what is temporary, and what is worth holding on to. This clarity strengthens decision-making and prepares them for future seasons where speed and pressure will return. Even though waiting can feel heavy, it is shaping a strength that cannot be formed in comfort. Endurance built in silence becomes stability in success. Faith strengthened in delay becomes confidence in fulfillment. The waiting season is not designed to break a person, but to build a version of them that can carry what is coming next without collapsing under pressure. And when the season finally changes, they often realize that the strength they needed was not missing at all. It was being formed in the very place they thought nothing was happening. The answer will arrive in God's perfect timing, not your timing, and this truth challenges one of the deepest struggles in human experience: the desire for control over when and how life unfolds. Timing is often the hardest part of faith because it requires surrendering urgency. People are comfortable believing in outcomes, but far less comfortable trusting the process of when those outcomes will appear. Yet timing is not random. It carries wisdom, alignment, and precision that go beyond human understanding. What feels late or slow from a human perspective is often exactly on schedule in a larger design that cannot be fully seen in the present moment. Human timing is shaped by emotion, pressure, and immediate need. When something is desired, the natural instinct is to want it now. But divine timing is shaped by readiness, alignment, and long-term purpose. These two perspectives often conflict, creating tension between expectation and reality. In that tension, doubt can arise and patience can be tested. However, the delay between request and fulfillment is not empty space. It is a period where multiple elements are being synchronized so that when the answer arrives, it does not just appear, but fits perfectly into the broader direction of life. Perfect timing means that when something finally happens, it carries stability instead of confusion, clarity instead of chaos, and peace instead of regret. If everything were to arrive immediately upon desire, many outcomes would lack structure and sustainability. Timing ensures that what is received can be maintained. It ensures that the environment, the mindset, and the circumstances are all ready to support what is coming. Without this alignment, even good things can become overwhelming or short-lived. So what feels like waiting is often preparation for endurance after arrival. There is also a hidden wisdom in timing that protects from premature outcomes. Not everything that is desired is meant to be experienced immediately. Some answers require maturity to handle responsibly. Some opportunities require emotional stability to sustain. Some breakthroughs require internal growth before they can be fully embraced. Timing protects from stepping into situations that might look right externally, but are not yet right internally. This protection is often misunderstood as delay, but in reality, it is guidance. As time passes, unseen adjustments are taking place. Circumstances shift, perspectives mature, and priorities realign. What once felt urgent begins to settle into perspective. This shift is part of timing's wisdom. It prepares the heart to receive without overwhelming it. It ensures that when the answer arrives, it is not met with confusion or instability, but with readiness and understanding. In this way, timing is not only about the arrival of the answer, but about the condition of the person receiving it. There is also a deeper layer where timing connects with purpose. Life is not only about receiving what is asked for, but about receiving it in a way that fulfills its intended role. When timing is aligned with purpose, the outcome carries meaning, direction, and impact. It becomes more than just fulfillment of desire, it becomes part of a larger journey. This is why timing matters so deeply. It ensures that what arrives contributes positively to the bigger picture rather than disrupting it. In moments of waiting, trust becomes the bridge between uncertainty and fulfillment. Trust allows a person to remain steady even when there is no visible progress. It shifts focus from frustration over delay to confidence in process. This trust is not blind, it is grounded in the belief that timing carries intelligence beyond human limitation. It recognizes that what is not yet visible is still unfolding. Eventually, when the moment of fulfillment arrives, there is often a realization that it could not have come earlier without complication. Everything aligns in a way that confirms the value of waiting. What once felt delayed is understood as perfectly timed. And in that realization, the patience that once felt difficult becomes meaningful because it is revealed that timing was never working against the person, but always working for them. The moment you've been waiting for will arrive suddenly, and when it does, it will not feel like a gradual shift, but like a breakthrough that redefines everything around you. There are seasons in life where progress feels slow, almost invisible, where prayers seem unanswered and movement appears delayed. Yet, beneath that stillness, something is being prepared for an unexpected release. Sudden change often follows long periods of quiet preparation. What looks like delay is often the buildup to a moment that transforms everything in a way that cannot be predicted or controlled. When this sudden shift happens, it often comes after a time when people have stopped expecting it. Human expectation tends to fade when delay becomes prolonged. But timing does not depend on expectation, it depends on completion. When everything required for the outcome has been aligned, the change comes swiftly. This is why it often feels sudden, even though it has been developing for a long time. The process was gradual, but the manifestation is immediate. What was forming unseen now becomes visible all at once. In these moments, situations that seem stuck begin to move without resistance. Doors that remained closed for a long time open without struggle. Opportunities that felt distant suddenly appear within reach. Relative. Iron ships, circumstances, and internal conditions begin to shift rapidly in ways that were not possible before alignment was complete. The suddenness is not randomness, it is readiness meeting timing. Once all elements are in place, there is no need for further delay, and what was held back begins to unfold naturally. This kind of breakthrough often carries emotional intensity because it contrasts sharply with the waiting season that came before it. The mind struggles to adjust to rapid change after long periods of stillness, but this contrast is part of the design. The waiting builds appreciation, and the sudden shift reveals purpose. Without the delay, the breakthrough would not carry the same weight or meaning. The sudden change becomes a reminder that unseen processes were always active, even when nothing appeared to be happening externally. There is also a deeper lesson in how quickly things can shift. It shows that circumstances are not as fixed as they appear. What seems immovable today can change rapidly tomorrow when alignment is complete. This challenges the idea that progress must always be slow or linear. Instead, it reveals that transformation can happen in moments where end conditions are right. The suddenness highlights the power of timing and preparation working together in ways that surpass human planning. Often when the shift occurs, it brings clarity to everything that came before it. Delays that once felt confusing begin to make sense. Closed doors are understood as protection or preparation. Unanswered situations are seen as part of a larger process that required patience. The sudden breakthrough connects the past and present, revealing that nothing was wasted. Every moment of waiting contributed to the readiness required for the change to occur. Emotionally, sudden breakthroughs can feel overwhelming because they arrive with force after long silence. The heart that was once in a posture of waiting must quickly adjust to a posture of receiving. This transition is not always immediate, but it is transformative. It teaches that change does not always announce itself slowly. Sometimes it arrives in a moment that redefines direction entirely. What once felt distant becomes immediate, and what once felt impossible becomes reality. Ultimately, the sudden moment is not just about change itself, but about confirmation. It confirms that timing was always precise, that preparation was always active, and that nothing was ever truly delayed in the way it seemed. When it arrives, it becomes clear that everything was moving toward that exact moment all along. Keynote 7 centers on the call to keep believing, keep praying, and keep standing firm, even when there is no visible evidence that anything is changing. This is often the most difficult part of the journey, because endurance is tested not in moments of excitement, but in moments of silence. When results are delayed and answers are not yet visible, the temptation is to step back, to give up, or to assume that nothing is happening. But persistence in faith is what carries a person from waiting into fulfillment. It is the steady decision to continue believing even when emotions fluctuate and circumstances remain unchanged. There is a powerful reality in the act of continuing. Every time a person chooses not to quit, they are reinforcing resilience within themselves. Faith is not a one-time declaration, it is a continuous posture. It is expressed in repeated prayers, in consistent hope, and in the quiet refusal to surrender to discouragement. Even when doubts arise, the decision, Sion, to hold on, becomes a form of strength. It is not about never feeling uncertain, but about refusing to let uncertainty become the final voice. The journey requires a kind of endurance that is built over time through repetition of trust. In this stage, persistence becomes more important than speed. Life may not respond quickly, but continued belief creates internal stability. When nothing is happening externally, something significant is still being shaped internally. The heart becomes stronger, the mind becomes more grounded, and the spirit becomes more anchored in hope. This is why those who endure often emerge with deeper confidence, not because the situation changed them instantly, but because the process refined them slowly. There is also a refining effect in the decision to keep standing. Standing does not mean passivity, it means holding position without being moved by pressure. It means refusing to let disappointment redefine expectation. It is the ability to remain consistent even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This kind of stability is rare because it requires emotional discipline and spiritual resilience. Many people begin with hope, but not everyone continue. Ease with it when delay stretches longer than expected. Yet those who remain consistent eventually see the outcome that others gave up before reaching. Continuing to believe also reshapes perspective. Over time, what once felt like delay begins to feel like preparation. What once felt like silence begins to feel like unseen activity. The mindset shifts from frustration to trust, and this shift changes how the waiting is experienced. Instead of interpreting time as wasted, it becomes recognized as necessary. Instead of seeing absence, a person begins to sense development. This change in perspective is essential because perception determines emotional strength during waiting seasons. There is also a quiet transformation that happens in the act of persistent prayer. Repeated communication in faith is not about changing the outcome through repetition, but about sustaining connection during uncertainty. It keeps the heart aligned with hope. Even when words feel repetitive or emotions feel drained, the act of continuing keeps the relationship between expectation and trust alive. It is in this consistency that resilience grows, because faith becomes less about feeling and more about community. Commitment. At times, the most difficult moments come just before change. This is why persistence matters even more when discouragement is strongest. Often, the pressure to quit increases right before breakthrough because resistance tends to intensify near completion. Remaining steady in that final stretch requires inner strength that has been built through the entire waiting process. It is not accidental. It is developed through every earlier moment of choosing to hold on. Eventually, those who continue discover that their endurance was not wasted. When the shift